Hey guys, and welcome to the Basic to Bold podcast. I'm your host, Jen Bjornson. Now, today's podcast, I have seen quite a few videos, content on social media, specifically talking about functional freeze. And I found this topic really fascinating because I experienced this so much in my life, but I never really had a name to it. I never really had anything labeled it. I just knew my brain stopped. I feel like I was fighting my head all the time. I would describe it as like it's just not working and I'm fighting my head. Even though the next step was pretty logical, right? Like if you have a pile of laundry that's just sitting on your bed that needs to be folded, you're sitting there and you're like, I know this needs to get done, but like, what am I doing? Just do it. So for today, we're going to talk about from freeze to free. And I'm going to give you 5 steps to shift from that functional freeze and into freedom and how to get out of that. So if you've ever felt like your body or your brain has just hit pause and you're like, well, you can't move forward. You can't really figure out how to get out of it. It doesn't really make sense. You're totally human. That doesn't mean you're broken. Nothing means you're broken. It's just we gotta start building pathways into, okay, figuring out what's stopping us, but then also building pathways into like, how do we get past this so that when this happens again, or if this happens again, all right, I've got some steps, I've got some tools that we can move forward. So functional freeze is when you're functioning, but there's also a disconnect. There's a disconnect in the movement or in the action. You know what kind of needs to be done, but that you also don't know what needs to be done. Like if you were to look around, you can clearly see things that need to be done, but the idea of doing them, you almost feel like you're in quicksand. But it's so much mental energy, even though it's just kind of a simple task, or it seems to be a simple task. Now, I think the reason that this happens is it can be in multiple things. One that's a really easy to trace it back is trauma. The idea of perfectionism, whether that was really instilled in you in childhood or something in your life really instilled that. Could be your parents, could be a situation. That level of having the need to be perfect all the time, to say it the right way, to do it the right way, it can be extremely paralyzing because you're trying, you know the thing needs to be done, but you also have this next step on top of that thing, which is, well, it has to be done a very specific right way. And I've got to do it the right way the first time perfectly. And there will be a consequence if I don't do it in that way. Now, this isn't really a true way of thinking, or it could be, right? Like if you had parents who there was a severe punishment because it wasn't done this perfect way or this right way, that's a very real fear where even though in adulthood, that fear really isn't logical anymore, you still have that innate fear of like, it has to be done this right way. It has to be done a perfect way. Because as an adult, you can't get in trouble, right? You're an adult. Nobody's going to come in and tell you to redo the folding of the towels. I mean, they can, but it doesn't mean they're right. And the reality is you're now an adult. They're your towels. You can fold them any way you want. So we do have things that seem to be our reality, right? It's the perceived reality is it has to be done this way. But if you really were to look at it logically as an adult, that's not a true statement anymore. It was true as a child. You could get in trouble as a child or as a young adult or living with your parents or living with that individual. You could get in trouble. There could be a severe consequence. But if you're living a life now where you're in control, there really isn't that consequence anymore. But our brains and our bodies don't always know that. And so those consequences, we still kind of put on ourselves like it has to be this right way. It has to look a certain way or I'm going to get in trouble. And so that can cause a freeze right there because sometimes if it has to be perfect, but we don't know the right way to do it, it just causes this huge loop in our brain of, okay, I know I should do this. I know it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but I don't know how to do it. So I'm just not going to do anything. So now in your brain, you're going over and over and over again of like, what do I do? Because I know I need to do this, but I don't know the right way to do it. I don't know how to do this. So what do I do? So you just don't do anything. Another thing is you can be insanely overwhelmed. Being in motherhood, in the thick of motherhood, you can be so overwhelmed, so overstimulated that just the thought of doing one more thing, that you're just so burnt out. And so that can cause a functional freeze. Like it's not that hard to fold towels. At the same time, if you have done nothing but just give of yourself and give of yourself and give of yourself, it is that hard. And just the idea of picking something up and folding it and putting it away, it's a really big deal. But we also can berate ourselves into thinking, well, it's not that big of a deal, right? Because if you were to explain to somebody, I can't even put the towels away. Well, now there's that shame of like, what is wrong with me? It's just towels. It's not that big of a deal. Or what is wrong with me? Why can't I just put the silverware away? Or why can't I just do X, Y, Z? Why can't I just do this? Because that one specific task isn't that big of a deal, but you stack task on top of task on top of task. Well, now your entire day is filled with stuff that doesn't bring you joy. It doesn't bring you any kind of variety in life. And you're kind of feeling stagnant, that doing one more tiny thing can just send you over the edge. It really is kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think sometimes we as moms easily can look at, we have these little tasks. They're not that big of a deal. And so you can look at them and you can say, why can't I just get this thing done? But the reality is there's so many of those little tasks. There's so many of them. And they're just all, our whole day is filled with those little tasks. And if you're in the thick of motherhood, like you have a new baby or you have like many little kids, the reality of your day is very likely filled with a lot of things that are not for you. Your day is filled with everybody else's needs. When you first start off as a mother, especially your first baby, we get very programmed. Now, this is out of necessity. It's a great thing. We get very programmed that all of our resources are sleep, feeding this little tiny thing, keeping it alive. Every ounce of you goes into keeping this child alive. Now that's wonderful. But if we don't get out of that mode, we easily do that. And the child's 4 years old, the child's 8 years old, the child's now 10 years old, where we should be getting time for ourselves. Our day should not just be all of them, but because we start off as everything is about this thing, keep it alive, keep it fed, keep it from crying. What is wrong with it? There's just so much that goes into it that you easily get programmed. As women, we easily get programmed, and it's kind of hard once you get into that program to start backing away from it. Why? Because it's just how your life works. It's just how we go. And if you have a really hard baby, now they're not a newborn. Now you have a 1.5 old and you still haven't slept, right? This precious little child should be sleeping through the night and they're still not. And now instead of just a few months where you're not really getting great sleep, now it's a 1.5. And those are real things. But as moms, we should be starting, as this child gets older, we should be starting to take a step back. We shouldn't stack our entire day all around our children, because what happens is it turns into burnout. It turns into overstimulation. And now we have these moments where we're like, I love these children. I should love my life. There's nothing happening that's wrong, but for some reason I'm going to lose it. And so that's another reason and another way that we can get into functional freeze, because we're just so overly stimulated. I think when we also get into this mode, at least this is what I did, is I just push harder. And I think, oh, when this happens, then I'll take a break. Or when this happens, then I'll ease up. Or then it will be okay. If my husband, on the weekend, I'll get a break. The point is life happens. It's just going to happen. And so if you're waiting to fix this and until when the kids are gone, or when I get a weekend, or I'm going to take a girls' weekend, so that I can survive this. That is not a long-term fix. Now I'm going to give you the 5 steps that we're going to get out of this. Okay, so step 1 is awareness. You have to start looking at it. Okay, when you notice that you're in freeze mode, you're not lazy, you're not broken. Okay, so we're not going to shame ourselves. We're not going to add more issues onto it by making us feel crappy. We're not going to rip on ourselves in hopes that we make ourselves better. That doesn't work. It's not true and it doesn't work. So we're going to, once you start to recognize it, you're going to be aware of it. All right, I'm in freeze. Now this is where I would recommend doing like journaling or getting on a piece of paper. Okay. And you can write, when do I notice myself zoning out, avoiding, or shutting down? Right in there, like really start to think. And if you're in that moment right now, what's happening? What's going on? Is there a lot of chaos happening in your life? So we're just doing awareness here. We're just going to have a conversation with ourselves, with a journal, or even in your mind, if you want to just sit there. I really love to just sit. And for myself, sometimes journaling can be a little distracting. So I just sit and I go, what is happening? Okay, the second part is we're going to be very grateful because your body's trying to tell you something. All your emotions, all of the feelings that you have are a warning sign. They're a call from your body to say, this is not correct. Something's wrong. We need to fix this. We need to change this. I want you to, as part of your prompt or as part of your sitting there, go, you know what? I'm really grateful for you showing me this. Thank you for showing me this. And in your workbook, you can write a compassionate thank you letter to your own body, to your own self, to your own inner child, whatever. Thank you. So step 3, we're going to decode those emotions. So behind every freeze is an unmet need. Now, your top needs are variety, like things changed up. We like to do different things. Consistency. We like not too much change because now we're into chaos. So we like a little bit of consistency. Love and connection is number 3. Number 4 is significance. And 5 is growth. And 6 is contribution. Now, we're going to focus on the first 4 because that is usually where the majority of stuff comes from. Very important to have 5 and 6, but we're going to focus on the top 4. So what I want you to do is I want you to sit there and I want you to look, okay, I'm in freeze mode right now. What could I possibly be getting out of this? What unmet need? Is it variety? If I wait till the last minute, now I get this rush of like, oh my gosh, somebody's coming over. And that gives you a variety feeling. Is it consistency where it has to be perfect all the time? Is it love and connection? Like, oh, if I wait, then my husband will come home or my significant other will come home and they'll do it for me. And that makes me feel loved. Is it significance where if you wait for this thing and then people see you do this thing, now they're going to praise you for it. Okay. Whatever this is, I want you to sit in a quiet room with a journal or by yourself. And I want you, as you're watching it go, what could this be giving me? Okay, so now step 4 is going to replace it for what you actually want. So we're going to introduce a new thought, a new action, a new environment. So if you keep with this idea, let's say you're trying to get variety. All right, let's say you've come to realize that in this functional freeze, it gives you variety, it gives you some change. It gives you like, oh, this is exciting. Okay, now the thing that you're actually doing is not the way you want to be getting variety. Right? If you wanted variety, this is not the way that you want to get it. You want it in a healthy way. So I want you to make a list. What are some healthy ways I can get variety? If you're doing it for consistency, what are some better, healthier ways you can get consistency? Because right now, you think this is the way to get it. Right now, you think this is the way to get love and connection. Right now, you think this is the way to get significance. Right now, you think this is the way to get it, and it's not true. It's not the only way to get it. So let's switch our brain. Think about it, use your journal prompts, and I want you to think about how you can get the healthy version of what it is that you're actually looking for. Now, for me, this is where I like to put hypnotherapy. I like to put energy work. I like to put breath work. You could do meditation. This is where I do a lot of my processing of letting it go. I like to really sit there and go, this is not true. I do not have to be perfect. I can get love and connection through other things. And I'll do tapping, EFT. This is the section where I do all of that stuff. And if that interests you, put it in the comments. I'll do a whole video on hypnotherapy because that's what I do, or energy healing because that's what I do. And but this is where I like to add that. This brings me to step 5. And step 5 is repeat with compassion. So the reality that you are just going to absolutely get rid of this first time around, especially if you've never understood this concept before, brand new to you. And we're just learning about how to switch over our emotions and change our pathways in our brain. It can be a process because it's a very new thing. And let's be honest, it can be a little weird when you first hear about this, right? The idea that you can be like, I've just decided I'm now going to think this way. Well, I've been doing this for 10 years. Yeah, that's a true statement for me. But when I first started, that was not a true statement. When somebody was telling me about this, I'm like, you're telling me if I just like think this way, I'll be that way. And they're like, yeah. Now I actually have results from that. So I know it's true. So I know it works. I know how to do it. I know I do it easily every day. And so if you learn how to do this, if you get those results and you come to understand that it's really not that hard to switch over your pathways, and you're like, oh my gosh, this isn't true. I don't have to be perfect. And you start to feel it. You'll start to notice it. That confidence comes back and you start to feel more relaxed. The anxiety leaves you. And so it's stuff like that. You just need a little bit of proof. If you're in the first stages, you just have to wait for a little bit of proof. So keep doing this. But the reality, healing is not one and done. Even if you get fabulous results with this, and I know you are, I know you're going to get fabulous results. But even if you do, there's other stuff that's going to come up. I've been doing this, like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years and I still have stuff that comes up. I'll be driving and I'll be like, oh my gosh, this story is coming up. I am feeling this way. And I have to stop and I have to go, okay, that's not true. It's faster for me now that I've been doing it for this long, but the reality is stuff still comes up. So keep going. It's going to get easier. It's going to get better. The more you do this, I promise you, the easier it gets. Along with this repeat, definitely write down your accomplishments. So if you really started to notice something and you let it go and it really wasn't that big of a deal, write that down. Make sure you record your wins. Make sure you record any time that you're like, I was feeling this way and I don't anymore. I know that that's not true. I know I don't have to be perfect. I know that there's going to be somebody out there who loves me for me. And I know I don't have to compromise on my standards. So just as a quick recap, first step, be aware, recognize what's going on. Second step, we're going to thank it. You might even need a little bit of forgiveness at times, because I know sometimes we hold stuff against ourselves, we hold stuff against people. So definitely do that thanking and that forgiving. Number 4, decode what it is. What are we doing? What's the unmet need? Number 5, replace it with what do you actually want? What's not true about that statement? And number 5, repeat. Repeat with compassion. You're not broken. Nothing about you is broken. We just need to tweak a few little things of things we've been telling ourselves that aren't true. So as you do this, I want to encourage you to pick one thing. Don't try and look at your whole house at what you're freezing over and like, I'm gonna fix this whole room. No, pick something small, because then you're gonna have little wins and they're gonna build on themselves. And that makes it so much better, because you can actually see things that once were a big deal and now they're not a big deal anymore. And you're like, oh yeah, I used to have a problem with that. Now I don't. I'm really grateful that you spent this time with me. If this has helped you, please like it. If you can think of somebody who's really dealing with a functional freeze issue, share that with your friends or your family. And I just want to close out that until next time, remember this mantra. You can use this in your meditations or your breath work. You are not frozen forever. You're learning to move at the pace of your healing. Until next time, bye guys.